Like the video and subscribe right now, and Dr. Doggo will help you with your ligma. What is this thing that you always see on an escalator? They help keep shoes, dresses, handbags, etc. from getting snagged in the tiny gap at the side. I use them as a little shoe shine too. My grandfather told us to not remove this when renovating. Aztec calendar. Funny thing, I remember a bunch of these a while ago being smuggled over the border and they were made of meth. Oh, whereabout? This is in Sweden. Sweet ol' USA of course. Found in historic late 1800s cemetery. About 4 foot long and 2 feet across on child's grave. It's hollow and partially buried. What is this thing? It's a cast iron grave cover. The base is partially covered and it's supposed to be up and out of the ground. They were very expensive and that one is lovely. Someone wanted their deceased to be safe from erosion. Found this when fishing in Latvia. Weighs more than 120 kilograms. Looks kinda like this mine and this mine. Dude, that is the chemical center for a sea mine that will explode if set off by any primer. Get the hell away and call the police. I'm still alive, but taking this thing out of water, rolling it uphill, and taking it apart must have been the most stupid thing I've ever done. Yes, it's a sea mine from year 1877. They were used in World War I. I found a news article where someone found the same thing. Only 2 of these were found before. It's in Latvian. That one looks rusty and in bad condition, though. The one I have looks like it's about to blow up. Super small mini flask. The needle screws into the flask. It's a pendant for perfume. Typically worn on a necklace. I can give you some history. Back in the day, 1700s to 1800s, things were not nearly as clean as they are now, especially in Victorian England. A simple walk or carriage ride down the street was often unbearable, not to mention dangerous, as disease was rampant along the Thames. Women would often dab a bit of perfume on a handkerchief and hold it up to their nose and mouth, not only to block the scent of feces and industrial waste, but to protect themselves from diseases. Because at the time it was the belief that diseases were caused, at least in part, by bad air. Thin slabs of ivory with days of the week on the top, found in my closet. Etsy Victorian Aid Memoir Notebook. Product description. Fabulous antique early Victorian chatelaine aid memoir, memory aid, from mid 1800s. Made of sheets of bone, it would have hung on a lady's chatelaine chain, or been kept securely in her pocket, and she would have used it to make notable notes and appointments for the week to come. It has 6 pages for the days Monday to Saturday. Of course a lady would never have made appointments on a Sunday. Any idea what was this masked man on an old family photo I found? I have seen similar masks on disfigured World War I veterans, with no money for restorative face masks, painted prosthesis. Older piece of pottery / ceramic identification. Going through some belongings of a past relative. Can anyone identify this piece? My thought is something related to smoking, like an ashtray, snuff box, matchstick holder. I have zero information on the age, no other markings. It's a circa 1840s drab Rhine pool stand. Here is a similar one for sale in England. Yours is more intact and more desirable. I've had this old bottle for years, and I've never been able to figure out exactly how old it could be, or what ozone treatment is. According to this document, the ozone treatment was a method for sterilizing and filling root canals. In the present day, root canals are usually sterilized with sodium hypochlorite, the active ingredient in household bleach, and filled with gutta perca, a rubbery plant resin. Based on more googling of ozone and the typeface and design of the bottle, it looks like it's most likely from around the mid 1920s. Medical devices? But for what kind of surgery? Looks like a set that includes trepanning, drilling hole in skull, usually to relieve pressure on the brain from an injury, tools. Found at antique shop. Think it might be some sort of food server. but really no idea what this is. Bun warmer. Just saw this in a German TV show for antique stuff. If I remember correctly, this girl got 800 euros for it. Yeah, you really have to check what stuff actually sold for. In this case, though, looks like one similar to OP's went for $425. There are many more with just 2 compartments that go for half. But if it's real antique silver, I don't think they would have any problem getting $400 for it. Oh my god. I got it for $10. What is this ostentatious wooden alcove that doesn't match any other part of the house? My stepmother, for her master's thesis, wrote a specialist piece on contemporary private chapels. After showing her the answers on this post, this is what she said. The raised wooden dais and the mock support/surrounds combined with what looks to be a clergyman's confession cabinet all lead me to believe this was very likely to be an old, influential, and wealthy American family's private chapel. 1850 to 1880s is when these were most popular. Although it appears to be a split-level basement, half below tarmac, half above ground, it's likely that this was only sunk 50 to 80 centimeters below what the original street level was when it was built. What is he holding? A late 1800s vendor in a Mexican marketplace. Those are pig guts, used to make sausages, specifically chorizos. He was a tripicalero, an almost lost job. The name stands for tripper's guts and callous cow stomach and guts. Here you have an actual tripicaleria store in Leon, Spain. It looks far too light. That amount of sausage would weigh a lot. Perhaps the casings for chorizo? Solved. That makes sense. Inflated intestines. Clean, dry, and ready to be filled with sausage. What is this? Found in an 1800s old farmhouse. Top part of a scarecrow. It would have attached to a base with a bearing that lets it spin to look more convincing when the wind blows. You see the same thing in owl decoys to deter hawks and crows. The head on a spring, so it spins with the wind. Found this at my friend's house. Seems to be 6-inch long, likely an animal horn, but I feel like maybe it has a purpose that we don't know. There are no words on it anywhere. Looks like a musket powder horn. Powder horn for black powder storage. Unknown glass object filled with unknown liquid. Found in an early 1900s barn. Any leads? Fire extinguisher. Dear God, be careful with that thing. Best move might be to contact your fire department. I would not recommend shipping this to anyone. This is classified as a hazardous material, specifically a class 6.1 poison. The post office and FedEx won't touch this stuff coming from a private person. I'm not even sure if they'd ship it with a properly certified hazmat shipper doing the selling. Getting caught trying to sneak this stuff into a package without declaring it would be a massive no-no, as in a criminal charge. If you really want to try, your only option is going to be Craigslist and getting someone local to buy that can pick it up or have you deliver it. Source: I've been a hazardous materials coordinator for 10 years. This image was found in an old family album from the 1800s. No one was able to explain what was going on here or why. It's called the Apotheosis of Abraham Lincoln. After his assassination, George Washington greeted him in heaven with a wreath of laurel. It's a cabinet card. Apotheosis. The apotheosis was actually a really important theme in early US history. The leadership of the newly formed United States had to convince the citizens that this brand new form of government would work. Democracy was a really bizarre concept at the time. Other forms of government used hereditary rule, which the US couldn't use as a way of convincing the populace to support them, so they turned to rule by divine right, which had its own problems. The Capitol building contains a huge painting showing George Washington receiving the right to rule directly from God. Now, technically, we've moved on to a meritocracy, wherein people rule because they deserve to. They've earned the right to do so. At least that's the idea. Found in walls of Victorian house. The way I read, those that are exposed, I'd think it's supposed to warm you when you're out in the cold. Victorians were forever fretting about exposure to cold and damp. Victorians were forever fretting about exposure to cold and damp. It's because cold and damp was believed to be how disease spread, especially in the sort of mist that rises up from a warm ground in the late fall at sundown. It's Victorian quackery. Here's an article on the subject. Found this embedded in my bathroom wall. Sorry for so many pics, but text wraps around the bullet. House is at least 130 years old. Bullet, measurements in first and second pics. That's a 20mm cannon round. It could be live, and if so can have explosives in it. Put it down, walk away, call the authorities. I found this under the floorboards in a 1800s era house. It removed the top of soft-boiled eggs. Found metal detecting an Eastern Washington home built in 1910. There appears to have been a clasp or pin on the backside at one point. Seems to be made of copper or bronze. No visible inscription. The bunch seems to be grapes, but there is a 5-pointed star on each grape. How old, and what is this? I think it may be an Edwardian hair beret. I found this photo, and if you look at the hinge on the right and the closure on the left, it's a pretty close match. Example of an Edwardian beret. It could also be a brooch. Edit. Okay, I'm almost positive that's what it is. Big ones like this were also used as sash pins, which makes sense with the grapevine theme as well, particularly if she was wearing a Grecian style gown. What is this scanner that a rooftop cop had at a protest? Seemed to be shining a green laser at certain people in the crowd. Picking out specific targets for ground police. It's easier to track an individual through a crowd from above. This may be because they are armed, or something else that makes them high priority. Snipers are out of the question. Firing into a fast-moving mass of people would only end badly. Found these in my cooked spaghetti. The sauce was canned. They definitely look like rosary peas. Symptoms of poisoning include nausea, vomiting, convulsions, liver failure, and death, usually after several days. Don't eat that spaghetti, bro. And if you already ate it, go to the doctor. Also from the wiki, these plants were used as weapons to kill and steal cattle. Definitely not the kind of thing you'd want to find in your spaghetti. The toxin from them, abrin, is 30 times more poisonous than ricin, another well-known seed toxin. Me and my parents found this in our backyard earlier today. It reads "Do not enter poison gas." It's on a circular concrete thing. It is the cap to a septic tank. Can opening one of those actually knock you out? If you go inside it, absolutely. It's not gonna come out at you like a gas bomb, but they can build up hydrogen sulfide, which is poisonous, or you just have a lack of oxygen in there. It's a common accident that people get overcome in a space like this, and then somebody goes down to rescue them, and they get killed too. Boys, ID my husband, and I heard a big crash at 5 AM, like something had fallen off the roof. He found this feather mass on the ground just now. Said it feels like it has a membrane inside of it. This is in our side yard, about 4 feet of gravel between a fence and the side of the house. Okay, showed this to my wife, ornithologist and zookeeper of 15+ years. The inside very likely has fly eggs on it, and the feathers are likely from a duck. Down in the cutaway section gives it away. But she has never seen a feathered mass grown off of a bird like this. So possible tumor that got pinched off the main body. Security camera recorded this guy knocking on my door late at night. What is this in his hand? With the attire it could be someone with hunting dogs. Sometimes the dogs will track animals onto others' land and must be found with tracking devices. May have just been asking permission to search for their animals. This is common in my area. Yeah, my dad had a similar looking device, old radio frequency tracker, for his raccoon dogs. They would occasionally hit a bobcat/deer track and wander miles off course. I found this metal object. No text or numbers. Can retract to be the size of a bracelet. It's the top, closure part, of a purse or small handbag. Paints ammunition shot at us during a protest. Looks like an FN 303 paint round. The granules are bismuth. They are non-toxic. You could keep it. What is this thing on this serial killer's head while he was in court? He's partially deaf. It's basically a giant hearing aid, sound amplifier headphones. I saw this in my yard. Is this just a type of worm? Or is there a parasite on it? I saw it breathing / have some sort of heartbeat, so it's alive. That's 2 worms making more worms. Holy shit, I witnessed worm shreks. Yes you did. You see those 2 spots where there is a bit of white foam between the worms? That's where the reproductive organs are. What's happening here is each worm is impregnating the other. Worms are hermaphrodites, both male and female. Put in my bag when I picked up an online order of shoes, but what is it? It was inside the yellow mesh thing and is 7 inches long. I know what it is because I have one. The drilled hole allows inlet to go inside, light travels through the acrylic rod, and the frosted rings at the end light up. This is likely a status light for a register, robot, or other machine to tell you when it's ready. But it could really be used for anything you want to light up. I found people using them as outdoor walkway markers. I have an expensive disc burner robot that uses it to tell you when it's ready for a new project. Found this small kettle years ago. Tried searching for a similar one, but have always come up with nothing. Anybody have an idea why this has this unique shape? Wallet for scale. Isn't that a portable men's urinal for bedbound patients? Weird squirming living Lovecraft nightmare on our lawn chair this morning. Probably Phobotron pathecian. Wow. That turns into a moth. Apparently that's a caterpillar with fuzzy false arms on its back to make it look like a dead leaf. We're looking at the belly. Goat in a field in Scotland appears to have had handlebars added to his horns. Having had goats before, for a number of years, I'm confident that this goat is a dumbus, and after about the 900th time that the farmer had to free this guy from a fence that he had stuck his head through, horns and all, and couldn't get back out, the farmer settled on this method of ensuring that the goat couldn't stick his head through far enough to get his horns snagged. Driving through Erie PA, weird circle in the sky. Lots of folks pulled over taking pics of it. Blown transformer smoke ring. Switch on the back of an old clock labeled Miracle Eye. What is this? Reduced sound when room is dark. What is this thing? Found it clearing out my great grandfather's loft. MG42, an MG that can fire 1200 round per minute I think. Found on Guam in shallow water, 3 meter diameter disc. Top looks like polyester in a honeycomb shape that is fiberglass to flimsy aluminum disc. I'm stumped on this one. Never seen anything like it. This is absolutely a rocket part. Post over in r/space and they can props ID it. What is this tube full of balls in the wall in a home built in the mid 90s? It's a termite indicator. Found in my dad's room, really hoping it's not a Shrek's thing. It goes over shoes to give grip on ice. What is this phenomenon? Why is the pond so clear and blue? There are springs like this in Florida. Pretty cool and thorough explanation of how the ponds, springs, and sinkholes form. Skip down to from aquifer to spring for the interesting stuff. Also, Costa Rica is famous for its blue rivers and nothing can compare to the unique celeste color of the water here. The waters of a blue river are infused with magical minerals from the volcanic activity deep under the Rincon de la Villa, turning the river a special effervescent blue that must be seen in person to believe. Cones of Dunshire found in German supermarket. It's a Schulteite. It's full of candy and or school supplies and kids get it on their first day of school. What is this lizard? It bit me on a beach in Naples, Florida. Looks like a Cubanite anole. I second this and can say with at least 99% certainty that it is a Cubanite anole. My brother found this missile in the woods in Tennessee. Kinda looks like an honest John short-range ballistic missile, but honestly, I highly doubt that a live one just lays around. But just to make sure, contact your local authorities, even though it probably is just a dummy. My friend found this scaffold-like structure on a trip. There was a paintball/airsoft field and a hotel nearby, but I'm confused about the purpose of this. Located in Czechia, Europe. It is a 3D maze, used in kids camp or other outdoor activity clubs. Paintball, airsoft, trekking, etc. In a paintball setting, it could be used to hold a flag or another capturable objective. Edit. User shared something about botanic architecture or living architecture. This is something very similar, but don't seem to contain any metallic element that we can see in the picture. Edit 2. User mentioned that botanic doesn't have to include metallic element in it to qualify, but doubt that this structure have a botanic vocation. A massive wrench I inherited. Weighs 30+ pounds. Novelty or functional? Yup, it's for real. Big bolts require big wrenches. Anchor bolts, large towers. Hell, I've got something like 3.5 inches, maybe even 4 inches, and I'm just a farmer. I found this squishy thing in my monster coffee. I don't know what it is, and I'm pretty grossed out. I took a look at the product's ingredient list, and my guess is that the milk solids from the condensed skim milk fell out of solution and combined within a matrix of sodium alginate to form a gum. It is also possible that an error occurred in production and the concentration of alginate was too high. Was the can stored in a cold place for a long time? That makes this hypothesis more likely. I'm a process chemist for a food company. Heat excursions and a tad bit too much calcium will lead to sodium alginate gelling. If you ripped it open, there would probably be a bit of a core where the alginate may not have fully hydrated. What is this thing we found while renovating? We haven't touched it since my dad thinks it's an explosive from World War II, about 10 inches long. Looks like a World War II British 2-inch mortar round. They did not use chemical weapons in World War II, so the filler is likely high explosive, but could be WP or helium. Call the EOD and don't touch it. What are these metal things on the corner of these stairs, and what is their purpose? Corner dust guards. They make it easier to sweep dust out of the corners. Found at the bottom of the lake. It's booze. I haven't died yet. Dental assistant here. This stuff is called alginate. It's made from seaweed. Fun fact. It takes an average of 30 seconds to 1.5 minutes to set up. It's used for so many different procedures. Ask your dentist assistant if they can give you some topical anesthetic to rub around the back/roof of your mouth, then swallow before they take your impressions. It makes the gagging sensation disappear if you breathe through your nose, too. Hope this takes someone's anger away. Featured comment. Mark H. Me posts a dank comment. Memellion, man, refuses to use it in video. Me, Dadak,